today with another edition, and today is going to be my second ever chit chat with KittySpeaks, and that is where we just talk about random things that have been on my mind, things that have been going on recently. And the topic for today is the recent news in the LGBT community. There have been many exciting events going on. As a matter of fact, just today, because today is Friday, June 26th, and today the Supreme Court ruled that it is legal in all 50 states for gay couples to marry. So it is no longer a state-by-state issue. The Supreme Court has made it a federal law that it is legal for gay couples to marry. I personally am very happy about this news, and I am very excited for what it means for the LGBT community. I am a heterosexual, but my belief and my views have always been that people ought to be allowed to make their own life choices, whatever those life choices may be. I know that within the religious community, it has been, they have pretty much taken it upon themselves to take up a stance that this is a church versus state issue, but I really don't see how that is a relevant way to deal with this issue when there are many issues regarding gay marriage that definitely don't have anything to do with religion. First of all, I think that it's foolish to think that gay or lesbian people or transgender people cannot also themselves be Christians or whatever religion they may practice. And so I just have always felt that any life choices that a person makes, it is between them and whatever God they choose to serve. I don't think that it is anybody's business to try to tell people how they should run their lives. If you believe in God or not, the reality is that we all came into this earth, we all got here alone, and we all have to stand before whatever God we serve to be judged by ourselves. We all have to answer for our own choices. And so therefore, whatever choice it is that a person chooses to make while they live this life on earth, it's between them and God. Really, there shouldn't be anybody else in the equation. That is my own personal view on the subject. It's really, really ridiculous to believe that it is okay to judge a person's life choices, because especially if you are basing it on religion, then you ought to realize that to God, sin is sin. So the sin of homosexuality is no bigger or smaller than your sin of judging them. That is definitely a sin. So whether or not you believe that homosexuality is a sin, it is also true that judging is a sin. And so mind your own business. I really, really just believe that everybody needs to sweep around their own front doors before they try to sweep around other people's. So, having said that, that is why I think that this is a very exciting thing to have happened. The reality is, whether or not you believe that gay people ought to be allowed to marry, it impacts their lives much more than on a level of who they choose to live their lives with. You cannot have someone on your health insurance who you are not married to. You can't say for instance you're married and you're living together in a home and your partner passes. There's a huge issue, that all about probate and all these other things about the property, because they were not married. So does it go to your spouse when they were not your spouse legally, even though you lived together as man and or as husband and wife, or husband and however, when you've lived that way for many, many years, and then, your partner passes and you have to deal with your grief, but you also have to deal with the fact that now you can't make decisions regarding your partner's property because you were not married. There are so many other issues like that I think it is really ridiculous that a person should have to go through so much drama on something that really ought to be between them and their God. That's the way I feel about it. So, having said all of that, not only has the Supreme Court ruled today that it is legal for gay couples to be married in all 50 states, but they're also opening up the issue of transgender people serving in the military. So there are a lot of boundaries that are being broken right now, and it's just a really historic time. There's so many things going on that are historic, and this is one of them, and I just think that it ought to be celebrated. There is also within our own community boundaries that are being broken and walls that are being torn down. One of our very own, Ingrid Nilsson, recently came out and announced that she was gay. That video got over 8 million views. The Rose brothers, who are also YouTubers, came out and announced, and their video got nearly 20 million views. There is a transgender person, another YouTuber that I just recently got introduced to, and oh my god, I forgot the one that I used to watch all the time. There was a gay YouTube beauty guru that I used to watch, and he made awesome videos, but he also started talking about the issues surrounding being gay and living as a gay male, and the abuse, and just all of the discrimination and bigotry that he had to suffer. And then he decided to become transgender, and so he became a woman and is now living his life as a woman, and she openly allows people to send in their questions and things that they are going through to discuss on her channel. She allows people to write in with questions and things that they're going through, and she answers them openly and talks about surgeries and hair removal and all these topics that go along with being transgender. And so her channel went from being a beauty channel to being one that is an open community for LGBT people to discuss their issues, and it is just fantastic. I really enjoyed him as a YouTube personality, and I enjoy her even more because her heart is just so huge, and it's an amazing thing. And so now through the Rose brothers, I was recently introduced to another transgender YouTube personality, and that is Gigi Gorgeous. And while I've only seen a few of her videos, they are really amusing, and she's really beautiful, and she does beauty videos as well, and so I am just all over that. One thing that you may not know about me personally is that I have a thing for drag queens. I've had a thing for drag queens since Miss RuPaul broke the barriers, and I saw her on an episode of, I think it was The Love Boat or Fantasy Island. It was either The Love Boat or Fantasy Island, and I saw her on there, and it was just so amazing. And ever since then, I have been obsessed with drag queens. So when I first got introduced to YouTube and got hooked on it, this was maybe like 3 years ago, most of the videos that I was interested in watching was drag queens, and that is what inspired me to become an MUA and go to school, was watching all of these men transform themselves into these beautiful divas. And I felt like if a man can turn an obvious man face into a beautiful woman face, that was an art that I wanted to learn. I mean, it's an art. It allows you to express yourself creatively, and it's just an outlet for me, especially when I'm not feeling well, or when I am more under the weather than usual, or if I am stressed out and upset, I turn to makeup. And so I owe that to the drag community. And so that is something about me that you may not know, is that I have always loved makeup since I was a young teenager. and my mom wouldn't let me wear it until I got to be 16. And then after that, I was always fascinated with it. I really didn't even want to leave my house without makeup on because I just enjoyed it that much. But as far as transitioning into becoming a practicing freelance MUA that I am now, that was inspired by the drag queens on YouTube. At the time, I was always watching RuPaul's Got Drag Race, but she also has Drag You. They were two television shows that come on cable TV, and I watched them religiously. And then I got my children involved, so my daughter and my son would climb into the bed with me, or sometimes two of my daughters would just climb into the bed with me, and we'd all be sitting there watching Drag Race or Drag You, and I would record them on my DVR so that even though I couldn't watch them at the time that they came on because of my health, I could have like 4 or 5 episodes just backed up on my DVR, and I could just sit there and watch and enjoy them. So after that, and finding YouTube and finding that some of my favorite personalities were on YouTube, I started watching their videos, and then I got introduced to the whole beauty guru community, which I did not know existed. And so the fascination just turned into me wanting to be in front of the camera, and I felt like I had things to say and I had things that I wanted to express, and I could do that with YouTube. And so that is how I joined the YouTube family. So to me, feeling the way that I feel about the LGBT community and feeling the way I feel about people and their rights to make their own life choices, it's exciting that there's all these things going on, but they're also happening within our own little family. The people that are coming out on YouTube, it's amazing. It's amazing when someone has the courage to come out, especially sports professionals, because I am a huge sports fan, especially NBA. So when you have a this huge bulky sports guy athlete come out and say that he is gay, and then to hear him say how he was just openly accepted on his team, and within whatever his chosen field is, whether it's the NFL or the NBA, it has just been amazing that all of these barriers and doors have been broken down recently for that community. However, what I don't like, you knew there was going to be a flip side, right? I am not part of the LGBT community, but I am a part of the African American Black community. And we are making all these steps forward for other minorities, because the LGBT community could be considered a minority, but the Black community is just having all of these crimes perpetrated against us daily, and it seems as if we are not making any steps forward. That's how it feels when you are watching television and you hear about a police officer shooting a black man in the back while he was running away from him and killing him. Things like this, it makes it feel like we are still in the 1960s. Like, Dr. King did not make any progress forward. Like, none of these changes were ever made. It feels like we're still stuck in a time warp when a police officer can kill a young black child and not be punished for it. Not punished on his job, not punished within the law, no sort of punishment whatsoever. I mean, it started out with, just citizens killing black people and not being punished, but now we have just turned to officers it seems like they have declared war on the young black male, and nobody is doing anything about it. As if black lives don't matter. As if our blood is not shed just as easily as everybody else's. As if our life is not worth the same. It's like human lives, are being judged, and the scale is not even. And it makes me angry. I I try to stay away from things that upset me or cause me stress, but there are some things that need to be addressed, and they just need to be addressed. And so I am using my voice and my YouTube channel. If you don't like what I'm saying, I would hope that you would just maybe stop this video right now and still enjoy the rest of my videos, because as adults we should be able to agree to disagree. I would hope that this isn't something that I could express my opinion and the people that follow me decide that they don't want to follow me anymore because we have a different view. I really hope that that's not the type of world that we live in. But if it is, I still am going to say what I feel. As a black woman, I haven't had too many instances of racism or bigotry perpetrated against me, but last Thursday the 18th, I went to see a doctor. I needed to have a test before I could have my intrathecal pump placed. If you do not know, an intrathecal pump is a morphine pump, and I'm having one permanently implanted inside of my body to help me deal with my chronic pain issues. And I went to go see this doctor, and it was in a predominantly white part of my, it was in another city, but in my part of Northwest Indiana. It was in a predominantly white area, and there was a sign when you go into the doctor's office that says, "Please be seated." There was no sign-in sheet for you to say, "My name is so and so, I have an appointment at what time, and here's the time I'll write." There's none of that. It says sit down. So Oscar and I sat down. Oscar's my husband. We sat down. We sat there for nearly an hour as people walked back and forth past us. Nobody greeted us. Nobody asked, "Who are you here to see? What's going on?" Because there were other offices in this, the lobby that we were sitting in. Nobody asked, "Who are you here to see?" Any of that. They just, it was like we didn't exist. So I sat, we both sat just doing whatever we were doing on our tablets for nearly an hour, until finally he decided that he was going to say something. Well, he said, is the doctor in? And, the woman said, "What doctor?" And so he told her, and she said, yes, that was him that just walked by. And so he said, "Well, we've been, here." She said, "Who are you?" And he told her my name, and she said, "Your appointment was yesterday." Now, if you know anything about me at all, I am pretty meticulous. When I made this appointment, I immediately marked it on the calendar on my bedroom wall. I informed my pain doctor the day and time of my appointment, because that appointment is holding me up from having my surgery. And we got there, like, I would say 30-35 minutes before my scheduled appointment time, because I felt like as a new patient they would probably want me to fill out paperwork. They didn't do any of that. And then she says, "Your appointment was yesterday." The other thing that you need to note is that I never received a courtesy call regarding my scheduled appointment. Now, I know that that is not something that doctors have to do. However, it is a general common practice that they will give you a courtesy call a day or two beforehand, reminding you of your appointment. None of that ever happened. And I said, "No, ma'am, you told me Thursday, June 18th. She said, "I told you Wednesday, June 17th. I know what I told you." And then she told me that I couldn't be seen, that the doctor only sees one patient per hour. There was nobody else in the waiting room, by the way. We were the only people there. And that we would need to reschedule. So she goes and gets the doctor, and he comes out, and he's like, "I'm sorry for the misunderstanding, but, let me just go ahead and reschedule." And I said, "No, I will not reschedule," because that doctor's office was nearly an hour away from my home. Sitting in a car for that long for me is uncomfortable. It begins to be very unpleasant. And then to sit in a waiting room, most of the time the chairs are uncomfortable for another hour. So, and then I had to get up at 6:30 in the morning to get to that appointment, and I generally don't get up that morning. If you know anything about rheumatoid arthritis, your joints are very stiff and achy in the morning. It takes a while for a person with rheumatoid arthritis for their joints to kind of loosen up and everything for you to comfortably move around. For me, that time is about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a daily basis. So whatever time I wake up, I'm not able to move around comfortably until about 1 in the afternoon. I got up at 6:30 in the morning to go to this doctor's appointment, and it was an hour away from our home, and we sat there for another almost hour on top of it, only to be told that you are not going to be seen. And I, as a black person, felt that I had been racially discriminated against. I mean, it was just, I felt blatant. I didn't feel that there could be any other explanation for the way that I had been treated. I didn't feel that there was any other explanation for why people could just walk back and forth past us, not say good morning, not greet us, not ask us who we were there to see, just let us sit here in your lobby in these uncomfortable chairs. For how long were you going to do that if Oscar hadn't said anything? And so this for me is very recent, and so it's very raw. But all the things that we've had going on, I have a personal friend who lives in Ferguson, Missouri, and so to hear her talk about it and the anguish in her voice, and about how it just tore the community apart and how it felt unsafe to live there after she had felt safe for her whole life, and she's 45 years old. All these things that are going on, and then to have this happen to me personally brings home the fact that although we are evolving as a country, black people are still in the same spot that we were since we got to this country. I mean, it just feels very, to me personally, it's very raw. And then afterwards, I looked up the wealth, I forgot what it's called, but there's a terminology for the difference of wealth between the different races. We are the poorest race in this country, and the gap is really, really wide. It's called something like the wealth gap, I think. So it's the wealth gap between races, and there is a huge, huge gap. So as a race, white people, their wealth level, I think it was something, I know that I'm butchering the whole concept. I know that I am. I probably shouldn't be talking about it, but things like this. And I'm a little bit upset, and talking about it is making me more upset. The point is that we are making great strides as a country for the underserved classes, and it is awesome that the LGBT community is getting finally some of the basic human rights that they deserve, because they are people. But also, as a country, black people are being slaughtered every day, and the people that do it are not even indicted. Police officers can kill a black person and get paid leave from work. That's just like giving somebody a vacation. It's like you gave somebody a vacation for murdering somebody. That's a prize. That's not... We need to do better. We honestly need to do better. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about, because I forgot about it and started talking about black people before, but I meant to point out Laverne Cox on the cover of Entertainment Weekly. This is the current edition, and it has been in my house. So this is the June 19th. Oops. I've been meaning to do this video for about 6 days. But anyway, Laverne Cox is a star from Orange is the New Black, and she is transgender. And I just think that it is amazing that we can have this. So this whole issue focuses on the LGBT community. This is a special LGBT issue, and it's got many different articles about gays and transsexuals and transgenders in the entertainment community. So the entertainment community is accepting, the sports community is accepting, and now the entire United States of America have to recognize gay marriage. So at some point, can black people stop being murdered by police officers and receiving prizes for it, please? That is all that I have to say. So until next time, you know the drill. Love, peace, and hair grease. Ciao.
Walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step.